So we can start. Yeah, so we are going to look at the introduction to biochemistry. Um, Biochemistry is an important subject in the fields that you are in, that is public health, nutrition, and then also midwifery. So I'll be lecturing you, giving you different examples of the application of biochemistry in those fields. Um, so this is basically the first session, and in this first session we are basically going to look at the definition of biochemistry and the important uh, biomolecules, and then we look at the application of biochemistry. So this is basically a brief lecture that introduces you to the field of biochemistry. So when we talk about biochemistry, we are referring to the chemical processes that take place in living organisms. Okay, so chemical processes involve uh, biochemical molecules. Okay, so in our bodies we have molecules, and we look at the structure, the function, and the way these molecules actually interact with one another. We look at the chemical reactions that are involved, what enzymes are involved, what are the conditions for these biochemical reactions to take place. So that is basically what biochemistry is. It deals with the study of chemical reactions of substances within organisms. We look at the chemical structure of these molecules, their function, and their interactions within the cells. So why is this very important? It's actually very important because it allows us to understand the structures of the different molecules, for example, the DNA, and the other pathways for generation of very important molecules, the pathways, for example, for generation of ATP, which is a form of energy, the pathways for generation of amino acids, the pathways for generation of important molecules in the body, for example, enzymes and other things. This is actually very key because we apply this knowledge in understanding uh, uh, the structures of different receptors and how we can target those receptors using, for example, drugs. But also, it is an important. It has important applications in what we call protein engineering, and we shall look at this as we look at protein synthesis, and also as we look at DNA replication. So we'll basically look at those in the lectures to come. So in the context that we are in, we apply uh, biochemistry knowledge in prevention of diseases and also in treatment of diseases. Okay, so when we use biochemical knowledge to handle medical complications or diseases, we are basically referring to medical biochemistry. That's the discipline. You will also realize that biochemistry has many other branches that um, our concentration is on the application of biochemical knowledge in, uh, in preventing diseases and also in treating diseases. And therefore, this knowledge is basically very important because it allows us to understand how diseases emerge, okay, or how biochemical processes contribute to diseases, okay. And then it also allows us to look at how the drugs we make interact with the different biomolecules in our bodies. Okay, so it also allows us to understand the nature of drug-to-drug interactions in our body after understanding uh, the chemical structures of the different drugs. Okay, and also the interaction of these different molecules allows us uh, to manufacture drugs for treatment of disease, and this is what basically we call uh, therapeutic interventions. Okay, so medical biochemistry is important in different fields. It is very important in nutrition. It's very important in pharmacology. It's very important even in midwifery. It's very important in genetics. Very important in understanding molecular biochemistry, molecular biology, and also biology, which is basically the study of diseases. Um, so when we are looking at biochemistry, we look at the structure of the micromolecules. Okay, micromolecules include the proteins, the carbohydrates, and then the nucleic acids. These are, for example, what I can call larger molecules. The macromolecules are larger molecules. We shall look at the structures of each of those. So, structural biochemistry is a branch of biochemistry that looks at the structure of these macromolecules. So we can look at these molecules using different technologies. We can use nuclear magnetic resonance. We can use X-ray crystallograph, and then also we can visualize these molecules using the cyclo electron microscope. And then the other interest that we have, apart from looking at the structures, we're also interested in looking at the pathways. Okay, so for example, if there is a if we get energy from carbohydrates, what processes are involved in producing this energy in the form of ATP? So we look at those pathways, for example, but we also look at the synthesis of different molecules, and also the breakdown of these molecules, or what you can term as um, catabolism and then anabolism. These are either synthesis of molecules or breakdown of molecules. So we look at the enzymes that are involved, the coenzymes, and then also how these biochemical processes are regulated. The term that we are using here is metabolic regulation.